All right, let's dive into the world of Indian finance today.
Sounds good.
We're going to take a close look at how the Central Bank of India performed this past quarter.
All right.
And you know what's really cool about this deep dive?
What's that?
We've got access to their financial reports, of course,
Of course.
but we also have a transcript of their earnings call.
Oh, wow.
It's like getting a sneak peek behind the scenes.
I like it.
So we're going to be listening in on what the bank's leaders are saying,
Okay.
and we'll get to hear how analysts who follow the company are reacting to it all.
Cool.
So, the big news.
Tip me.
Central Bank of India. They just had their highest net profit in 15 quarters.
Wow, 15 quarters. That's a long time.
It is 959 crore rupees.
That's pretty impressive.
It is impressive, but it's even more impressive when we look at the bigger picture.
Yeah, give me the context.
So their net profit for the first 9 months of this fiscal year,
Okay.
it's up 57.98% compared to the same time last year.
Wow. So almost 58%.
Almost 58%, yeah.
It's huge.
Huge. And they've actually already made more than last year's total profit already.
So they're way ahead of schedule.
Way ahead. Their strategic initiatives seem to be working.
It seems so.
And speaking of strategy, they've done a great job at improving what's called their asset quality.
Asset quality. Okay.
Now, for anyone who's not a banking whiz,
Right.
think of it this way.
Right.
Asset quality is basically how healthy are the bank's loans,
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
because they want to make sure that the money they're lending out is coming back to them.
Yeah, you don't want to be lending money that you're not going to get back.
Exactly. And a really key indicator of asset quality is a level of what are called NPAs, non-performing assets.
NPAs. Got it.
And these are basically loans that they're not being repaid the way they were supposed to.
Right. So people are behind or not paying at all.
Exactly. And the good news, Central Bank of India has seen a nice decrease in both their gross NPAs and net NPAs,
So less risky loans.
less risky loans.
That's good news.
It is good news. It suggests their loan portfolio is looking healthier.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you lend money to a friend
Yeah.
and they always pay you back on time,
Yeah.
you feel good about lending to them again, right?
Absolutely.
That's exactly the feeling that the bank wants to have
Okay. Yeah.
about the businesses and individuals they're lending money to.
Yeah.
And it seems like they're managing this risk pretty well.
Okay.
They have something called a provision coverage ratio.
Okay.
And this basically tells us how prepared are they for potential loan losses.
All right.
And theirs is really high,
Okay.
96.54%.
Wow. So that's like almost 100%.
Yeah, it suggests they're being proactive.
Wow. So they're really prepared.
They're prepared for the worst case scenario.
That's smart.
And this careful risk management, we can actually see it when we look at the breakdown of their NPAs by sector.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And it's worth noting that the corporate sector has a slightly higher percentage of NPAs than, say, retail.
Okay. But is that unusual?
Well, it's kind of expected because lending to businesses always has a bit more risk than lending to individuals.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But the key takeaway here is this. Their overall NPAs are down,
Okay.
and they have this really high provision coverage ratio.
Right.
So it seems like they are really on top of things.
It sounds like they're being careful.
They're being careful. They're not just handing out money. They're really assessing risk.
Right.
And they're making sure they have a safety net if something goes wrong.
That's good to hear.
It is good to hear. Now let's talk about growth,
Big growth.
because a healthy bank isn't just about managing risk.
Right.
It's also about expanding their business.
Got it.
And Central Bank of India is showing some pretty good growth.
Oh, good.
Their total business is up 8.31%.
That's healthy.
Healthy, and their advances, which is another word for loans, are up almost 13%.
Oh, wow.
But what really caught my eye is their RAM segment.
RAM. What's RAM?
So RAM stands for Retail, Agriculture, and MSME. Okay.
And MSME is micro, small, and medium enterprises.
Ah, I see.
This segment is huge for any bank.
Yeah. It's a big chunk of the economy.
It is a big chunk of the economy. It's a big customer base, very diverse.
Yeah.
And Central Bank of India is doing great here.
That's great to hear.
They had 17.99% growth.
Almost 18%.
Wow.
Almost 18%.
So that means they're really focused on serving a wider range of customers.
They are. They're tapping into these really important sectors.
Yeah.
It's like they're recognizing that for a healthy economy, you need businesses of all sizes.
Absolutely.
It's also interesting to see this growth in the RAM segment
Yeah.
alongside their really impressive KR ratio.
Okay, now you got to break that one down for me.
What is KR?
Yeah.
So think of it this way. When you open a basic savings account
Yeah.
or a current account at a bank,
Oh, okay.
that's a KZA deposit.
Oh, okay.
And for banks, this is like gold.
Really? What?
It's a stable, low-cost way for them to get funds.
Oh, that makes sense.
And Central Bank of India holds almost 49.18% of all KZ's deposits.
Wow. Almost half.
Almost half.
That's a big number.
It's huge, especially in a competitive market.
Yeah, it means people trust them.
Exactly. It's a sign of customer loyalty. People trust Central Bank of India.
Yeah.
They feel good about putting their money there.
Yeah.
And to keep building that trust, Central Bank of India has been making some big moves in the digital world.
Oh, like what?
They've launched a brand new digital platform
Ooh.
and a super app.
A super app.
It's all about making banking easy and convenient for their customers.
So they're trying to keep up with the times.
They are keeping up with the times. So you
Yeah.
can do all your banking from your phone,
Oh, nice.
transfer funds, pay bills, even invest and shop, all right there.
Wow, so you don't even need to go to a branch.
Nope, you don't even have to step foot in a branch.
That's convenient.
And you know what's really interesting? Even the bank staff are really excited about this app, which tells me they really believe it's going to change the way their customers bank.
Yeah, that's a good sign.
It is a good sign, especially with how fast everything's moving toward digital.
Absolutely.
Central Bank of India is getting ready for the future,
Yeah.
and they're backing it up with a lot of money.
Oh, yeah. How much?
800 crore rupees investment over the next 5 years, all in technology.
Wow, they're serious about this.
They're serious. They're not just dipping their toes in the water.
Right.
They are diving in head first.
At first, okay.
Now, beyond all these headlines and the fancy technology, I'm always curious to hear what the experts are saying.
Oh, yeah. What are the analysts saying?
What are the analysts saying?
Exactly.
So let's look at that earnings call transcript
Okay.
and see what kind of questions they were asking.
Good idea.
One of the big things that came up,
Okay.
the impact of new RBI regulations.
The Reserve Bank of India, right?
The Reserve Bank of India, yeah.
Okay.
Especially on something called co-lending.
Co-lending. Okay.
And the analysts really wanted to know how these changes might affect the bank's strategy, especially for retail lending.
Yeah, because we were talking about how well they're doing with retail.
Right, exactly. It makes sense that they're focused on that.
Totally.
So how did the bank respond to these concerns?
What did they say?
Well, they acknowledged that the regulations are a challenge,
Okay.
but they emphasized that they're going to find solutions.
They're up for the challenge.
They're up for the challenge.
Okay.
They said, we've got a great risk management framework,
Right.
and we're ready to adapt to new rules.
That's good.
It's like they're saying, we've got a strong foundation, and we're not afraid to think outside the box.
Yeah. They're flexible.
They are flexible. Another thing the analysts were curious about was the bank's move into insurance.
Oh, right. They bought stakes in a few insurance companies, didn't they?
They did, yeah.
Interesting.
They were curious about what the bank's plans were for this new venture.
I mean, it's a whole new area for them.
It is. There was a lot of
Yeah.
curiosity, but the bank's leadership, they were playing it close to the chest.
Oh, really? So they weren't giving much away.
Not a lot of details.
Okay.
They said they'd share their full strategy once the shareholder agreement was signed.
So we just have to wait and see.
We'll have to wait and see. It should be happening within the next month.
Okay, not too long then.
Not too long. But it sounds like they're trying to build a more well-rounded financial services hub.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Like they want to be your one-stop shop
They're one-stop shop.
for all your financial needs.
Smart.
Now, one other interesting little thing came up.
Okay.
It was about one of their regional rural bank subsidiaries,
Okay.
or what they call an RRB.
An RRRB. Got it.
So this subsidiary had a bit of a dip in their profits recently.
Oh, no. Why?
It was mostly because of some regulatory changes that affected how they pay their employees.
Ah, regulations can be tricky.
They can be tricky. They had to start paying something called a computerization allowance, but they had to pay it going back in time,
Oh, wow.
retroactively.
So that hurt their expenses.
It really hurt their expenses. It's a reminder that even small regulatory changes can have a big impact,
Yeah, it's all connected.
especially for banks operating in specific areas like rural banking.
Right, where the margins might be smaller.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But overall, despite these little bumps in the road, it seems like Central Bank of India is handling these challenges pretty well.
They are.
They're showing that they can adapt.
Yeah, they seem resilient.
Very resilient.
Okay.
And it's clear they have a vision for the future,
Definitely.
but there's still a lot more to talk about.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
We need to look at their other subsidiaries,
Okay.
what their outlook is for the coming year,
Right.
and their commitment to things like environmental sustainability and social responsibility.
All important stuff.
All very important stuff. So let's take a quick break and then come back to unpack all of that.
Sounds good. Okay, so ready to jump back in.
Let's do it. We talked about a few of their subsidiaries.
Right.
One that really stood out to me was Cent Bank Home Finance Ltd.
Oh, yeah, that's their housing finance arm, right?
Exactly, and it looks like they're doing really well.
That's great.
Their advances in their investment portfolio have reached a healthy 1,681.44 crore rupees.
So they're playing a big part in the bank's overall growth then.
It seems so.
Yeah.
Makes sense though, right?
How so?
Given the huge demand for housing loans in India,
Oh, yeah, true.
it's like they're tapping into this whole market of people who want to own their own homes.
Smart.
And it fits right in with that strong growth we saw in the bank's own housing loan portfolio.
Yeah, all ties together.
Now, what about those insurance companies?
Oh, right, the ones they invested in.
I'm really curious to see how that plays out.
Me too. It's a big move for them.
It is. As we mentioned earlier, they're not saying a whole lot about the specifics right now.
Playing it safe.
But from the earnings call, we know they see insurance as a huge growth area.
Makes sense?
And they promise they'll reveal more once that shareholder agreement is finalized
Which is supposed to be soon, right?
within the next month.
Yeah.
So definitely something to keep an eye on.
Okay, will do. So it sounds like they're trying to create this whole diverse financial services ecosystem.
They are.
Could be a really good long-term strategy.
Yeah, it's like they want to be the place where you go for all your financial needs.
Exactly. Now, what about their outlook?
Ooh, good question. What are they expecting in the coming fiscal year?
Yeah, any potential hurdles we should know about?
Well, based on their earnings call and their reports, they seem pretty optimistic.
Good.
They're projecting business growth between 10% and 12%.
Okay, that's solid.
Deposit growth, they're thinking between 8% and 10%.
All right.
And advances growth between 14% and 15%.
Wow, they're aiming high, especially with the economy the way it is.
That's true. Those are ambitious goals.
What sort of macroeconomic things could affect them?
Good point. So based on our source material, it seems like some of the key things to watch are GDP growth, inflation, and trends in credit growth.
Okay, so like the overall health of the economy.
Exactly. Now, India's GDP growth is projected to be around 6.4% to 6.6% in the coming year.
Which is still pretty decent.
It's not bad, but it is the lowest growth rate in 3 years, according to some estimates.
Okay.
And inflation is still a worry, although it's supposed to ease up a bit.
Right.
What the Reserve Bank of India does with monetary policy, how they handle things,
Yeah, that'll have a big impact.
that'll be crucial. So it's a mix of good and bad, you know.
A mixed bag. Opportunities and challenges.
Exactly.
But it seems like Central Bank of India is ready to handle it.
They do. They've got a good track record. They manage risk well.
Right.
And that focus on digital transformation,
That's key.
really key. And let's not forget their commitment to ESG, environmental, social, and governance factors.
Oh, yeah. Definitely important these days.
They're actually taking steps to reduce their impact on the environment,
Good for them.
promote social responsibility and good governance.
It's not just about profits anymore, is it?
It's not. It's about recognizing that a bank's success is more than just money.
Yeah, it's about their impact on everything around them.
Absolutely. And they're doing some really cool things,
Like what?
like putting solar panels on their buildings,
Oh, wow.
planting a tree for every employee's birthday.
That's a great idea.
It is.
What else?
They even have a Bring Your Family to Workplace Day.
Really?
Yeah, it's all about helping employees connect their work life with their family life.
That's nice. Builds a sense of community.
Exactly. They're fostering a culture of giving back.
It sounds like they're taking a holistic approach.
They are. Not just financial performance, but their impact on the environment, their employees, society as a whole.
Yeah, they're walking the walk.
Now, before we wrap up this deep dive, what really stands out to you about their performance this quarter?
For me, it's that they're doing well financially, but they're also looking ahead. They're not settling.
They're not.
That profit growth is impressive, and combined with their digital focus and their commitment to reaching a wider market, it's a really good sign.
I agree. They're shaping their own future.
And that brings us to our question for the listener.
Oh, yes. The big question.
Given everything they're doing, their digital push, their focus on RAM growth, could Central Bank of India become a major player in retail banking?
It's possible.
Investors and analysts will be watching closely.
They've got the potential, the momentum,
And the vision.
and that vision. Their customer focus, their digital innovations, their commitment to financial inclusion.
They're a force to be reckoned with.
But only time will tell.
We'll see how they handle the challenges and make the most of the opportunities.
Okay, so we've covered a lot. Their financials, their strategies, their digital transformation, what they're expecting in the future, even their commitment to ESG principles.
It's been a journey.
It has.
Hmm.
But there's one last piece.
Oh, what's that?
We've talked about their financial performance, but what about their impact on society?
Their social impact.
How are they helping the communities they serve? Let's explore that next.
So, ready to wrap up our deep dive?
Let's talk about their social impact.
Social impact. Okay.
You know, it's really interesting to see how they're not just focusing on profits,
Right.
but also how they're trying to do good beyond just the balance sheet.
I like that.
They seem to get it,
Get what?
that a truly successful bank, it's woven into the community.
Yeah, they're a part of it.
They are. It's like they're saying, we're not just here for the money, we're here to actually make a difference.
Right, a positive impact.
The positive impact, and they're doing some pretty impressive things to back that up.
Give me some examples.
Well, one thing I noticed is their emphasis on what's called financial inclusion.
Financial inclusion. Okay.
It's especially in rural areas.
Okay.
They're working to make sure that even in these underserved populations, people can access banking services.
That's important.
It is important.
Yeah.
Financial literacy programs in remote villages, even mobile banking units,
So they're going to the people.
going to the people.
Mm.
It's like bridging that gap between rural and urban.
Everyone deserves access.
Everyone deserves access.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not all. They're really involved in supporting education and healthcare, too.
Oh, wow. How so?
They're partnering with different NGOs, providing scholarships for students who maybe couldn't afford it otherwise,
That's great.
funding for schools, hospitals.
Really making a difference.
They're really making a difference, sponsoring health camps for free medical checkups.
Wow, they're going above and beyond.
They are. It's heartwarming to see a bank so actively involved in these issues.
It is. It's more than just, corporate social responsibility.
Right, it's about being a good neighbor.
Being a good neighbor.
Exactly.
A good corporate citizen.
Yeah, and it benefits everyone.
Right, exactly. A
Right.
healthier society leads to a healthier economy.
Makes sense.
And they're not just writing checks.
Oh, good.
They're encouraging their own employees to get involved.
That's great. How
Volunteer their time, skills, to actually make a difference.
It's good to see that kind of culture.
It really is. There's even a program where employees can get paid time off to do community service.
Wow, so they're really serious about this.
They are. It's like they're creating this ripple effect of positive impact
Yeah, spreading outwards.
from the bank to the community and beyond. So to wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
I think it's safe to say Central Bank of India, they're setting the bar pretty high.
They are.
They're showing that you can have strong financials and still make a real difference in the world.
It's like a new model for success.
It is. Maybe that's the most important thing we've learned.
Maybe so.
Central Bank of India is demonstrating that the future of banking, it's not just about the numbers. Right.
It's about the people,
The human element.
the human element. It's about using your influence to make a more inclusive, equitable, sustainable world.
And that's worth paying attention to.
It is. So for our listener, if you're looking for a bank that's not just about profits, but also about that bigger picture,
Okay.
Central Bank of India is definitely one to keep an eye on.
I'll be watching.
They're leading the way, proving that a bank can actually be a force for good.
That's great to hear.
And maybe, just maybe, their story will inspire others to follow suit.
I hope so.
Me too. Well, we've come to the end of our deep dive. We explored their financials, their strategies, those digital innovations, their social impact. What a journey.
It is fascinating.
It's amazing what we can learn from really digging into these reports and earnings calls.
You learned so much.
It's like peeling back the layers, getting to the heart of how a bank operates.
Exactly.
And listener, I hope you've gained a better understanding of Central Bank of India, their story of growth, innovation, and responsibility. So keep an eye on them. They're doing some really exciting things, and this is just the beginning.
I think they have a bright future.